All right. We have a new feature called worksheets. So let's see if I can. You have one worksheet to play with. You don't have as many worksheets as you have dashboards. I didn't want an overabundance of duplication, so you can copy one worksheet, copy one dashboard to the worksheet. If you want to work on another dashboard, you simply go to that dashboard and copy that one to the worksheet. So once you get to the worksheet, this is basically the sandbox version that people have requested. It allows you to quickly make changes to your dashboard and sort of play the what-if game. What if I take these companies out? It'll take the companies off, add the cache, and then you can go over and play with that and make changes to your dashboard.
Okay, you're able to go really fast on this, Kurt. I think you want to slow down and show them what's happening.
Yep.
One at a time here.
Yep.
So
we'll move these back up.
This is addictive, people.
So what you see is just basically your dashboard with all of the holdings that you had when you copied it over. You've got a couple of different options. You can either remove a holding or simply make it inactive. Inactive moves it down to the inactive table and takes it out of the calculations for your averages and for your pie charts. So if you were to grab one of the biggest holdings, if you move Stryker out, you'll quickly see that healthcare drop dramatically. If we jump it back up, you'll see that wedge grows. So that's a quick visual representation of what just happened. You'll also notice that your cache value goes up by the amount of cache that disappears. That's one of the discussions I'm having with Mark. It sort of makes it difficult to see a change here. But when you're playing the what-if game and you're looking at your lowest holding, what you're trying to do is remove a company and then see what might happen and make that value go up. So give me a high value or high par, high quality company, Mark.
Oh, let's see. Well, how about I don't know. You're gonna have to do a stock search.
All right, we'll go to stock search.
Although I'll bet this audience will give you some. Yeah, John Kimball's already given you C-Trip, CTRP.
All right,
That's
we'll just
one you
use
can
that.
demonstrate.
So we added C-Trip. I think we'll have to add a few more shares to try and use up all of our cash. So that does a better job. And you can quickly see that your values have increased. We've grown the par to about 12% from 10. And I think our quality might have gone up. But you can come in and you can edit any value, any share value. You can drop companies in or out. And you can play the what-if game by adding holdings, editing holdings, and making those changes.
Okay, Susan Micholik would like you to clarify that the green bullet just hides it or sets it aside.
Yep, it sets it aside. The green arrow will drop it down to what we consider an active. Red deletes. It'll take it out completely.
Okay, so if you're getting rid of it for sure.
So,
okay, Ann would like you to comment. Ann Manning would like you to also comment that you said you can have one worksheet. So if you have more than one dashboard, can you switch the worksheet to a different dashboard?
Yep, if we go back to the dashboard home, well, let me show one thing before we do that. So okay. You've made changes. You have a dashboard that represents the changes that you've made and you want to save it. You can click Save. You'll get a date stamp simply so that we know we have a unique name, but you can go back and it'll give you an auto description, but the holdings will be representative of what was in the active table, what you left active. And if you submit that, you'll have a new saved dashboard that's on your dashboard homepage with the saved changes from the worksheet. Oops, wrong button. Now, if you want a new one, if we were to click View Worksheet, it's still the worksheet that you had prior. It's not simply the dashboard that you were on. You have to copy to Worksheet and you'll copy the dashboard that you're looking at to the worksheet to edit. It's a bit confusing, and I'm probably open to a couple of suggestions in this point, but the idea that I had in my head was simply not the holdings have to be separate. It has to be a separate table, and I didn't want to have as many worksheets as you have dashboards. It's simply, it would be a lot of duplication in there. So right now it's
Actually,
one
I think
worksheet.
I was showing this to a friend of mine who's a tax accountant today, and my taxes were in a long time ago. I just happened to be with this person, um, and they said if you think of it in terms of you would only have one tax file open at a time, kind of think of it that way. It makes sense to have one active worksheet uh, open at one time also.
Right, and so the move dashboard will override the previous dashboard on the worksheet, and that's correct. If you only have one worksheet to work from, if you copy a dashboard to the worksheet, that is now the active holdings, and the worksheet is set to those. Whatever was there before is gone. Mainly, I guess the idea is you have one to work from, where you can have 25 or 50 dashboards, you can only have one worksheet, and it's the one that you've copied over most recently.
Okay, we've got another couple of questions to help you catch your breath. Richard Mills wants to know what percentage of growth numbers do we use for small, medium, and large? We only use two numbers. Large is anything less than 7, small is anything greater than 12, medium is everything in between. So 7% and below is large, 12% and above is small. That's fairly consistent with the better investing definitions, believe it or not. Marty Eckerly just asked a really good beta question, Kurt. How about two browsers open at the same time? Have you tested anything along those lines as far as perhaps dueling worksheets or anything?
No, it's still saved to the user. It's not something that's session based. So you might be successful in having two browsers that show different things, but as soon as you tried to make a change, you'd get an error because the holding wouldn't really be there if you had done it. So you might be successful in having a view of two different worksheets at the same time, but there's really only one living in the database, and what's ever most recently copied over would be the one that's really there.
You might want to tinker with that a little bit, but that's a good beta question. Danny Matthews would like to know, is there a way to copy a dashboard like a Sweet 16 dashboard to my dashboards? That's an interesting thought. Have you dealt with anything like that? Oh, you got an
All
S
right.
in there, Kurt. I think you want. Okay.
Nope, I've got it. Dashboards. What you're asking is, say we've got the Sweet 16 from any given month, or perhaps one of the public dashboards, say Mark's Manifest 40, and you wanted your version of that to play with on a worksheet. We don't have it yet, but it's probably a good idea. I might toss that one around with Mark. And guess the other place that you'd find it is, if you were navigating over to our monthly stock screen, the Sweet 16, and said, boy, that looks interesting. Maybe I want that to play with, and copy it to a dashboard or copy it to a worksheet. We could consider doing something like that.
Neat idea. Okay, let's help out Janine here a little bit. She would like you to go back and reinforce how you copy a worksheet. So she's just basically saying, well, just wants to go through the terminology again so that she understands how to copy a worksheet.
Okay, so you go to My Dashboards, and you need to select a dashboard that you'd want to copy over. I think let's try New Dashboard again. And on the sidebar, when you're viewing any specific dashboard, you can copy it to the worksheet. And if you were to go back just to reinforce that idea that they're all, you only have one. If we go down to Save Changes, View Worksheet means view my active worksheet, not the one that I was just looking at. We probably could use better adjectives, or perhaps a little bit better layout on that to make sure that people understand what we're talking about there.
I'll give some thought to that. Joan also follows up. So if you don't save the new worksheet, your original worksheet will still be there. And yeah, that's a good point, a good question, because that's the whole purpose behind it. Your original one can still be there. Why don't you go ahead and demonstrate that, Kurt?
Yep, when we came back and we had made changes to the dashboard and then we had saved it to save changes, this dashboard, nothing that we played with on the worksheet impacted what we had on the original dashboard. It all stays the same. What you're playing with on the worksheet is a separate table and a separate part of the database. Those changes won't impact your original dashboard. And that's sort of the what if, the sandbox approach of that, is that you can play with it all you want and your changes won't be reflected in the dashboard until you either save it and save it to a new dashboard and go in and perhaps delete it, the old one.
Okay, Janine says, thanks, she's good with that now. Hadn't noticed it. Here's one from Roger Browse. If you hit the X by mistake, can you recover? Can you back up?
Nope, not right now. What you could do is if you consider that you've made a mistake, you can go back to your dashboard and copy it to worksheet again. But if you're 3 or 4 changes in and you accidentally hit an X, it's gone. I probably, on a delete, we typically have a do you really want to do that? We could put a warning window in and ask if you want to delete that company. If you remembered what you just deleted, you could go in and put it back pretty quickly. But right now it's not there. One thing that I have on the feature list for the worksheet is to have a running log of changes at the bottom, an audit log that tells you what you've done at the bottom. That won't be there at release, but there's a number of places that I think it might be helpful to have an audit log view of what changes you've made over time to perhaps a dashboard or a worksheet, so that you don't have to think, I know I made a change, but I just don't remember what. So delete warning. I see a comment from Susan asking that she'd like to see a delete warning before it happens, so I'll put a prompt in there on other deletes. For example, if we go to back to our dashboard and you try and delete it, you'll get a pop-up that asks if you're sure.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. You can do that same thing over there. Here's an opportunity to reinforce, Kurt. Ann Manning wants to know what the symbol to the right of the share price is on the worksheet.
Sure.
She's talking about the
edit. The pencil allows you to edit the number of shares in any holding.
That's a teeny weeny tiny pencil.
It's the best I could do. I'm not a graphic artist.
I think it's fine.
I think it looks like a pretty good pencil.
Working. Okay, and Marty's a good beta guy. Can a worksheet replace a dashboard if he were to select the original dashboard name?
Nope, you'd get an error that says that name's already taken. You'd have to delete the original and then rename the saved dashboard. So I have considered, instead of save to original, maybe perhaps 2 options there: save to new and save to original. I have to change some of the information in the dashboard table or the worksheet table to allow that, so that I know where the worksheet came from, which dashboard it came from. And we'd have to have a little bit of error checking added, but it is a suggestion that we've had.
Yep, and Marty's just saying that would be desirable. All right.
Hold on, I've just got my notepad. So I'd like to move on.
If you're crunching.
If you have some questions on the worksheet, let's hold those, but I'd like to get through the feature set in the next 10 minutes here, and then we can do some more Q&A. So I'll step into the forum. There's not a whole lot of changes other than the forum is new. It's not the same forum that we used on the original site. If you ever bothered to scroll down and look at this very light gray footer, it's MW forum that was provided by, or it's an open source forum that we used on the last site. So we no longer have that forum architecture. We did use a forum that was built and then modified it significantly to try and get the same look and feel that our subscribers are accustomed to. However, a number of things have changed in there. That's not a good board to use. We have migrated obviously all of the posts and comments. One of the main differences that you'll see here is that we've removed the threading where everything indents when you're replying to posts. It was probably the top negative comment that we had about the forum, was that it made it difficult to view as the number of replies to a specific post grew maybe to 5 or 10. The indentation would make the post size pretty small. So it's something that you got accustomed to and that we're taking away. I don't think there's a way I can add it back without really taking a step backwards and perhaps finding another forum solution. But I don't think that's would be a timely option at this point.
I've not heard any shrill screams of pain from anybody yet on this, Kurt. So
one of the things that we do have now that we've added, you could probably find the people who are posting, but on the sidebar now you can see people who have commented in the thread. If you were to click on one of those people, you'll see where I live now, my zip code anyhow. You won't see that about other people. Let me find someone else. So we'll pick on Dan. You'll just see Dan Hess's name and not any of his private information. And you'll see his most recent forum posts. So you can find a user and find their most recent posts. So if you like to watch certain people and pay attention to what they're saying, like Mark maybe, you can find him. Did you post in here, Mark? You didn't post on the forum thread at all.
Not after you made the last switch, no.
All right. So you can go to Mark and get his most recent ones as well. Also on the user page, if a user has public dashboards, you'll see their public dashboards. So one of the things that I forgot to mention and that I wanted to step through now that I've gotten back to the user page is that the main public list of dashboards is now manifest admin only. The list had grown to include quite a few
single stocks.
I suppose you'd say sort of junk and lost public dashboards. So we're trying to make the public list that's available through the main link relevant and timely. So we'll maintain the list there, but you can always find a user's public dashboard by going to their user page. Anything that a user has made public would be there. So if you want to tell your club that I've got 10 or 20 public dashboards that I want you to look at, you simply give them the URL to your user, which is typically your first and last name on your account.
And we probably should clarify. We'll make sure that we cover the model investment clubs. Those got caught in the wash right now, but the model investment clubs will be there too.
Right. We can provide links to the primary model clubs so that they're easy to find. Back to the forum, you also have messages while doing the message migration. I noticed that 70% of the messages were to Mark Robertson between Mark and people. So if I got rid of Mark, it would have gone faster. But they are being used. We've had members send thousands of messages back and forth. So the messaging system does work. If anybody is following along and can go to messages and then send message and send a message to Kurt Kowitz, just as a test, I'll show one new feature that we're adding. So I'll step back to that in a minute. But we'll go back to the forum here and quickly show a couple more options here. When we're taking a look at the edit portion of pages, you can still add and remove images. When the formatting has changed, but it's not so different that you won't be able to figure it out, you can use italics, bold, add headings, block quotes. You can add links and images. You simply have to follow the examples shown on the sidebar for those various items. Getting a question from Dan, has the search capability for the forum and issues changed? It has, Dan, and it's not displayed yet, but we'll have a site-wide search that includes everything. So if you search for a topic or a ticker, you'd see results from articles, from perhaps the company page if you add a ticker, and then any place that that ticker is mentioned on the forum. It'll be universal, but split out by different categories. So you might see article results, the company result, and places that it's mentioned on the forum. That's one of the things that we have to add yet before we go live is the search functionality.
Okay, do you see Art's comment there too, Kurt, about the flagging of the new messages?
The new is quite different. It's not what is necessarily new to you. It's new based on session and posts that were in the past 3 days. I'm perhaps going to work on that code to improve it to what is new to you, but it would take some changes that probably won't happen right away. I don't have, if somebody were to make a new post and test it, we could see that. Nobody sent me a message yet. Bummer. All right, but anyhow, if you were to have a new message, it would show up here. You'd have a new heading there that said messages or a new message or something like that. So one of the things that we've sort of integrated the forum into the entire site. Before, the forum was sort of a standalone package that lived on the corner of the website and sucked in some user information when you visited it for the first time, but it didn't really interact with the rest of the site. Now the forum, user table, message table, all of that is part of the entire database. It's all linked together and we can make use of it in more places. We'll pull recent posts and stick them on the home page so that when you come in for the first, when you come and hit the home page, you'll see some recent posts. Your messages will be, perhaps I think what I'm planning on doing now is putting an icon up, the little mail icon next to your name here that would show that you have a message waiting for you and link to the message. So it's the forum will be more a part of the entire site. I'll move on quickly and cover events in the last couple of minutes here. Before, we used to have our events listed on a board in the forum. They're now database items that we can pull and push all over the site. If you were looking, we had our upcoming events on the sidebar on the home page, so you'll see them there. And then you'll see upcoming events, obviously, on the events page. Clicking into an event, can't register for this one because we're already in it. But if we go to the Challenge Club, your register links will be available, and you can register for those events. If we have an event that we have an address for, a physical address, you'll see a map for it, and you'll be able to click through to that map. I think I screwed up the address on that one, so it's not quite right, but the general location's right. We also will have all of our past events, so you can come back and say, I missed an event, come in and click into it. I don't have it listed right now, but as we archive and save versions of these presentations, we'll be able to provide links on those pages. We'll probably also have a centralized location for all of the video replays of various things that we've had. But at the very least, you can come back to the event page and find out if we have a recording available. I think those are all the features, and I've got a few minutes left. And I think my voice will survive a few more questions. So, Mark, if you want to pick out a question or two, I'm going to get a drink of water real quick here.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't think I see any other questions. Now, Susan Macholik said, is there a way to enter a dollar amount for a holding instead of the number of shares? suppose you can use that.
Not yet, but that is a question that I've had before. I think we'd be able to do that. It would simply, if we were to go to a dashboard and
That
edit it,
same treatment as the bulk holdings thing,
and
only
if we
for
were to
individual stock.
perhaps cut the field size in half here so that we have more space, we could add symbols, shares, or value. Showing value might be a checkbox that it won't show it unless you ask for it to be shown, simply so you don't confuse a user and have them try and enter a symbol, a share, and a value all at once and get errors. But I think we'd be able to do that. We obviously do it since we have the benchmark allocation, other than the one issue with the bug we had there.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and check in on Gene Lang. He's had his hand up for about a minute. Gene, are you there?
Yes, thanks.
What's on your mind, Gene?
Just wondering on the Manifest Investing Users Guide. I don't know if you've done away with that. It was nice having it on the home page, especially to guide new users to it, and it had a bunch of good information about your site. Has that been done away with, or is it somewhere?
It has not been done away with. Obviously, the site is going to change fairly dramatically. We plan a revision of it as we sort of finalize the look and feel of everything, and then the feature set sort of calms down, which I think it has now. Excuse me. We'll get to saving screenshots and revising the text and trying to freshen it up for a new release. So that will be available, and we'll probably have it prominently displayed again somewhere that you can obviously click to it anytime you need. Just to point out, people finally did get poked enough and sent me a few messages. So
okay.
Whether or not it remains here as a messages header with 3 unread messages, it simply is just to point out that the site is more integrated than it had been, and we can provide that sort of interaction now.
Until then, the user guide isn't there, right?
Not on the beta site. It would still be available on the main site, but when we flip over, there will be some sort of user's guide.
Okay.
Whether or not it's a PDF or simply walking through a series of pages that describe the site, we'll have something available.
No pie chart for industries.
Pie chart for industries.
Oh, breaking down a portfolio into industry pie?
Yeah.
Boy.
Was that discussed at all, or?
We kicked it around. I've never experienced an actual use of that.
I did look at it. The only issue that we have is that as you get more than, say, 10, 15 holdings, the number of lines that you get off of each side of this, it becomes unreadable. For a larger dashboard that, say, maybe you had 100 holdings on a watch list, the chart becomes irrelevant. It's just a mess. You can't read it.
I can tell you, Gene, one area that I have used that in the past, and I don't know how I feel about this yet, but I'll just tell you straight up. I mean, I've had situations where I would think of it as a drill down into a large healthcare slice of pie, where I would actually take and divide that, the healthcare slice of the pie, into its industries to watch for over concentration by industry.
Sure.
That's we might consider doing something like that.
Yeah.
But I've actually used that in presentations to demonstrate what a sector is and what an industry is. And we could think about it along those lines, but we do not have it. We actually did have it. It was like Kurt said, it was like looking at an infinite number of lines on a pie.
Yeah, you'd probably have to limit it to the top 10 or 15. I don't know how it would be a practical way to do it. And maybe it's not practical,
Well, we'll kick it around because it is an area that deserves some attention. We are having a number of requests wondering if tonight's presentation will be recorded and made available. And I see Dan is here. The answer is probably yes. We do have a recording, and we'll make tonight's recording available if you want to go back and review some of the stuff.
I see Dan had a follow-up to his question where he was asking about dashboards. being able to copy a Sweet 16, and his comment was more of, is it possible to favorite those, to sort of follow a favorite subset of public dashboards? And I'll consider that. That's a good idea. We obviously have the ability to show those public dashboards, whether they be a user's public dashboard or a moderator's dashboard. There's probably an easy option for me to have a list of favorites by user, and then you can come to your dashboards page and see your drop down of your personal dashboards, and then a drop down for your favorites that you can check and watch. For example, perhaps Sweet 16 by month and top 40, stuff like that.
Well, Bob and Arlene are patting you on the back, Kurt. They say, wow, we tried some of the changes, but now we've got more exploring to do. Good job tonight. So I feel the same way. Thank you. Anybody else? Let's go ahead and do kind of a last call on questions. We're at right around an hour. I think everybody would like to pretty much call it a night. You're getting a bunch of kudos and thank yous, Kurt. And we'll probably do another version of this too. Sorry, Kurt.
No, that's all right. I was going to say the same thing. As we move forward and either release or get past release, perhaps if the beta drags on for more than a few weeks, we'll do this one more time. But I envision doing this on a regular basis, having a walkthrough of the website, sort of a feature review for new users, and then we'll have discussions on guiding development going forward. So we can always have our users provide a voice in sort of the development process and sort of pick our brains and have some back and forth there. So we'll definitely do this, if not monthly, pretty close to monthly or bi-monthly.
We've got 3 or 4 questions asking about time frame, Kurt. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, if you're a frequent user and you happen to stop by the general discussion, you'll notice that the title here changed and went from Manifest Investing Beta. I started a new thread, and I'm calling it the wrap up. The last push of the database this week, basically pushing all the data from development to the beta site, included everything. All articles, all issues, all stocks, funds, all user dashboards, all the forum posts and messages, all of that was migrated. So we want to make sure that we don't have any feedback, negative feedback that says I didn't get my stuff, or something that is supposed to be there isn't there. It's a little bit difficult to compare simply numerically because we're doing some, I suppose you'd say, deleting some very old accounts along the way and some dashboards that are stale. So I can't simply compare the number of holdings, the number of dashboards, and the number of users and say we did a good job. But for the most part, my comparison checking shows that things are there, but we want to provide perhaps another week or two to make sure that everything looks right. I am aiming for an April release if everything still seems stable and I manage to fix the bugs that I identified tonight and a few lingering issues. We'll try and stick to that.
And Dan's last comment is pertinent to what you're talking about, Kurt. He wants to know what would be the downside of using the new site completely right now.
The downside would be that any changes you make to your dashboard would be wiped out when we push the last push of user data. Basically, when we flip the switch, I'll take a snapshot of all users, all user items, dashboards, dashboard holdings, and those will be what we then release when we switch to the beta site. So any changes that you make between now and then when using the beta site would not be reflected come the switch over. There's no harm in using it. There's no harm in playing with dashboards and using the dashboards, but don't go adding 10 or 20 new dashboards. They'll disappear in a week or two and be replaced with what you have on the live site.
The only way you could do that and stay out of trouble would be if you duplicated effort and actually duplicated those dashboards. In other words, entered new duplicate dashboards on the current site.
Right.
I've been doing a little bit of that.
I don't know that many users add that many dashboards in a day, but you definitely lose some work if you only use the existing site. The other thing is that saved stock searches will disappear because the live site doesn't have that feature. And when I migrate users, we have to sort of build those as we go. So since you don't have save searches, there's nothing to build from, and anything that you add will disappear. I'm sure there's a way that I could try and preserve that, but that's effort better spent on other features.
Oh yeah, we've got a couple other projects in mind that you guys want us to get to. Trust me. All right. Well, I'm not showing any more hands in the air. It looks like we've pretty much cleared the field of questions. We'll go over them to make sure we didn't miss anything significant. But thanks, Kurt, for the tour, and we'll look forward to doing this again here in the not too distant future, and keep on rolling.
Thanks, everybody.
I think we'll just say sign off. Thanks, everybody.